What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex here, and you're watching a Ragin Ronin review. Got a review for you. I checked out Love, Death, Robots. It's this animated anthology of short films that is exclusively on Netflix, and it's from producer David Fincher and Tim Miller. And what this is that it's a collection of short stories that are all animated, with the exception of one being in live action, and they are anywhere between 8 minutes to 16 minutes long. It's kind of like The Animatrix, except none of these films are actually connected. They're just, of course, in the realm of science fiction and fantasy, but they're these really very interesting and unique concepts that were made into short stories. And most of the stories do have to do with robots in some shape or form. Maybe not all of them, but they are definitely in the realm of science fiction. Now, all these films are really, most of these films are really hard R rated. There's a lot of really adult themes there, a lot of really gory violence, and I'm just thinking that I'm so happy that they decided to do this bold form of storytelling on such a mainstream medium like Netflix. And what they were able to pull off is some really awesome and very stylish forms of animated storytelling. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to just rank all 18 short films. And we're going to start off with number 18. And I'm going to say that the one that I like the least is one called When the Yogurt Took Over. I didn't really care for it. I thought it was interesting at the beginning, and then afterwards it just didn't seem to go anywhere. I wasn't really a big fan of that at all. In fact, I didn't really like that one. So I'm going to put that as the last one. Next one is Ice Age. This one was actually directed by Tim Miller. It stars Topher Grace and Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and this is the only one that's in live action. And I thought it was pretty quirky, and it captured me at the beginning. But then later on, once again, just like the other film, the yogurt one, it didn't seem to go anywhere. I thought that they had something interesting going on, and I thought they would explain more about the refrigerator, but nothing really happened, and it just looked like it was just a cycle. And I guess that's it, but that in itself is just not interesting enough for me. Number 16, Alternate Histories. Now this was a little bit interesting, but this one was just you know, it really didn't like have a point to it. It was just an interesting concept about what would happen had Hitler been killed in different ways, and it's amusing, but it just felt repetitive. You know, there's 6 different alternate histories as to how Hitler could have died, but it just felt like whoever the storyteller, like the writer, was just trying to have fun with it. But it wasn't my cup of tea. Number 15, The Dumped. And now it starts getting a little bit interesting. We have a story about this guy. This guy works for the city who's trying to get this guy to stop living in a dump. And then we learn why he wants to stay in the dump. And then we learn that there's this big monster there. And that's pretty much it. It does have its moments where, you know, the monster's doing in a big chase sequence. But besides that, it doesn't. It really didn't connect with me in any way. I mean, the animation was pretty unique and different, but it didn't really feel like anything that special to me. Number 14, Fish Night. Now, actually, I thought this one had a pretty unique style of animation. I wasn't completely a fan of this style of animation, but I liked what they were able to do with it, and they made a situation just feel very real. Now, there's 2 parts to this film where there's the real world part, and then of course there's the fantasy part. That part was the most interesting, and it's a very interesting concept. There's no explanation as to why things are the way they are, but I loved what they were able to do with it in terms of how it got very creative when we got to the fantasy elements of it. I was hoping that they'd explain why that desert is the way it is, but they didn't end up going in that direction. But maybe that maybe that's all they wanted to do. Maybe that's good enough for us. I mean, after all, it is a short film, but yeah, it was cool. I thought it had promise, but it didn't go anywhere besides having a very neat fantasy element about it. Number 13. Now this one's more action driven. This is about a heist, a truck heist that is carried out by these cyborgs, and I thought it was pretty cool, but it's quite shallow. There isn't much to it besides a big heist and like a big action sequence, and that's all that really is. It's nothing deeper beyond that, which is still pretty cool if you want some more excitement. But this is where it starts getting exciting in terms of like it has more action compared to all the other ones. But it's got a pretty shallow story because all it is really about a heist. It's like Fast and Furious, but like animated, but like with cyborgs, and that's all it really is. But that's cool. What are we at now? Next, we are at number 12, and that is Secret War. Now, I'm going to talk about one that is takes place, I guess, in Russia. During I don't even know when this takes place. I don't know, World War II era or whatever. But these Russian soldiers are fighting off aliens, and it is animated with really, really cool, realistic CG. All the characters look very, very realistic. We're talking about Uncanny Valley realistic, and they're fighting a lot of aliens, and I think it's really, really cool because it kind of just establishes that we're wondering who's killing all the villagers. Then we find out what it is, and then there's the big finale at the end, and it's pretty engaging in that sense because the animation style is cool, and it's also very, very exciting, and there's a lot of gore and there's a lot of killing, and they just make for a very, very realistic experience. So that was an exciting experience. Number 11, Shapeshifters. Now this takes place more during modern times, and we're dealing with this American these soldiers, but they have a couple of shapeshifters. Actually, there's two guys that are just werewolves. They're like dog soldiers, if you will, and they are out there to seek out and hunt down these other dog soldier Talibans, these werewolf Taliban guys, right? So that was a really, really cool concept to have these werewolf soldiers. And what was really cool about it is the werewolf fighting. It's very, very brutal, very, very gory, a lot of blood, and a lot of like gruesome moments, especially when they fighting each other. That was really cool to just incorporate, this supernatural element into modern military thrillers. So that's pretty cool. Number 10. Now we're getting into the top 10 section. Helping Hand. This is also done in animated in a realistic CG style, and this was a pretty cool but simple story, and it's really about this astronaut who is stuck in space because she just got hit by a projectile, and then she's just floating. She's just floating into nowhere, but she has to find a way to get back so she can grab onto her space station. And she does it in the craziest way. It's pretty intense. It's it's a pretty intense moment when she actually does that. But that's the main thing that this story, this short film has going for it. It's really about how she gets back to the space station, and that part is very, very that part's pretty tough to watch. Number 9. Also another film with a realistic CG animated style, Lucky 13. This is a very simple concept, actually. It's about this pilot who gets to fly this plane, which is called Lucky 13 or Number 13, and she always seems to be lucky. And there's a more mysterious aspect to this film as to what this plane is all about and why it keeps on being lucky. But there's some pretty exciting moments on this film in this story, from dogfights to gun battles. It's a futuristic setting, and I think sci-fi action junkies will really, really like this one because it is simple. There's nothing really deep about this, but they keep it really, really engaging throughout because not only is there like a lot of exciting moments, like action sequences, but you're still thinking about like this concept of being lucky, and they push that concept throughout the entire film, all the way up to its grand finale. So that was really cool. Number 8, Zima Blue. Now this is an interesting one. This one isn't action oriented in any way, shape, or form, and it's got a very bizarre animation style. The characters are drawn very, very stylishly, but it's really about this robot that kind of this robot just makes art, and it's a he's a very celebrated artist, and then it just keeps on progressing as to why like how he keeps on making bigger and bigger artwork, and then later on it's revealed like who he really is. And like you would never expect that, like anything like this, like the big reveal, you would never expect anything like that. So that was very, very cool. Very, very unique animation style, but very, very interesting story. Number 7, 3 Robots. I really like this one. It's a bit quirky. It's funny, and there's really good writing in this movie, and I love that they incorporate like 3 different types of robots in there, and you will know when you watch it, but like these 3 robots have a very unique personalities, and it's just them walking around a post-apocalyptic city, and humans don't exist anymore, and then the robots are self-aware, and they just kind of interact with each other, and it's just fun to see them talk to each other and see what kind of discoveries they have, and see what their perception of humans are. And that was really cool. Like I think this was definitely one of my more favorite ones. I really liked it, even though it's more a comedy than anything else. Number 6, Sony's Edge. This is the first film that I saw when I was watching Love, Death, Robots, and this one really took me by surprise. Like I said before, this is very, very bold storytelling on a mainstream medium, because they really went all out with theirs here, with from every concept, Love, Death, Robots. There's all of that in here. Very, 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 very violent. Like fighting. There's like kaiju fighting in this in a gladiatorial sense, and it's very, very action driven. Very cool animation. And lots of blood, and just twists and turns, and very cool characters in this. This was a great way to start off the anthology. It really, really started off with a bang. I'm now going to get to my top 5 now. Good Hunting. Now this one's really cool because it's got a very steampunk style about it. It's set in the steampunk world of Hong Kong, actually, like an alternate universe. And this is more cell shading animations, very, very, like, it doesn't feel very CG, like even though there is like CG in it, but it's like more cell shading. Anyways, this one's got a very mature story, and it's how can I explain it? It's about this guy who falls in love, or actually has a closeness to this this nine-tailed fox. It's a like a creature from a Chinese fairy tale, right? This nine-tailed fox. And then as they see the modernization or the steampunkization of Hong Kong, the characters evolve, and then the characters evolve in a very, very I don't know, in a very unique way that really reflects the steampunk style. So I don't even know how to explain it. I just thought that this was so different from what I expected. I thought it was just going to be a martial arts film because it does start off with some kung fu, and which I really liked. It was the choreography, it was done very, very stylishly, very cool, and then it evolved into steampunk, and then it's just so weird but so cool. So that's number 5 for you. Number 4 is also another one that it has cel shading animation. That's Sucker of Souls, and a bunch of mercenaries are looking for treasures, and then they find a version of Dracula, and then they have to deal with him. Very, very gory, funny also, and also very action packed. That's what I like about this. Is it's got this really simple animated style about it. It's not like, you know, characters who are drawn in a lot of detail. They're very, very cartoony, but what I was able to get out of this was that a very, very exciting and horrifying experience, because there is Dracula, and he's just a very, very vicious monster, and these guys have to fight their way to escape, and it's pretty intense. There's a lot of running involved in here and a lot of pretty intense moments. Now we're going to move on to number 3, and that is Beyond the Koala Rift. Now this one was actually a lot of favorites for a lot of viewers who had watched Love, Death, Robots, and I really like this one. I'm going to put it at number 3. This one is the most thought-provoking out of them all. And I really liked it because it really reminded me of, you know, these really cool stories in science fiction, like Alien. It had a little bit of Alien in it. It had a little bit of Event Horizon in it. And I don't know what other movies, but like it's I love the idea, the concept of these astronauts or these colonizers going into outer space, sleeping in hypersleep, and then they're off course. I love that concept, and then they have to find their way back. But they kind of are way off course more than they ever imagined, and then that leads to all the mystery and the intrigue. And it was just such a thought-provoking story because, and it's very, very dark and shocking as after you find out what is really going on there. But I loved it. I loved how it came to the very, very end, and it's just not anything that you would have expected. And also the animation style is very, very cool. Very, you know, once again, just like the other realistic ones, it's like CG animation where they design the characters and all the animation to be very, very realistic and lifelike. So that was very, very cool. That type of animation really captivates you. Number 2, Witness. Now this one had the coolest animation of them all. It kind of reminded me of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It's not like so cartoony like that, but it's still very, very stylish. And this is all about a witness who witnesses a murder across her building in Hong Kong, and it's just a big chase. But it's so intense because of the way everything is drawn, and also how creepy the murderer looked, and how vulnerable the witness appeared, and that in itself just made everything just so intense. And I love the animated style, like the way they animated this film. It's just so cool. And throughout the film, I was just completely engaged, and I was just rooting for her survival. And then it comes to the very really, really bizarre ending, which really makes you like feel like, oh man, that's it. It ended right there. I want to see more. And when you want to see more, that just means that like it really engaged you, and you didn't want it to end. Number 1, and this one is I love this one because I thought it had not only a very intelligent concept, but also is very, very action packed, and it was drawn in a very very cartoony style. Like the characters are very cartoony looking. You know what I'm saying? They look like they would have been in like a I don't know, like Looney Tunes or Disney animated film. I'm not talking about Pixar, but like, you know, it just looks very cartoony. What I didn't expect was a very, very cool science fiction action film. Very cool. It's like it's an alien invasion movie. That's essentially what it is. And suits actually refers to their mech suits. And what I loved about it is it's not anything that you would have expected. For example, these guys with mech suits, you'd expect them to be soldiers or really well-trained like mech pilots, but they're actually just farmers. And that in itself really just like captured my attention. Like, what a cool concept. They're farmers, and they have these things to protect their crops and livestock. So I'm wondering, what do they need to protect their livestock from? And then it's revealed later on it's aliens. But where did it come from, and why is it such a big serious problem that they need mech suits? And it gets pretty serious. It gets really, really intense, and I love the battle sequences. I didn't expect that I would like a short film like this, because I was thinking, oh, it's got a very cartoony looking animated style, animation style. It's not like those CG realistic versions that we've seen, those other films. But I was so pleasantly surprised how much I like this one. And Suits is my favorite. And I would love to see more of that if they decide to make another season for Love, Death, Robots. Anyways, that's my ranking of the Love, Death, Robot films. Why don't you guys let me know your rankings in the comment section below, and I'm really curious to know which one's your top 3 actually. So let me know about that, and I'll be happy to read them all. As always, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation, also follow me on Twitter, Ragin Nation. My name is Alex. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Peace.